Hey, it's Meg. In this video, I'm going to show you various arch designs. I do want to make it clear though right away that this is not a tutorial for how to build my designs necessarily, but rather just to give you inspiration and some basic arch shapes. Of course, there are many ways you can apply an arch to a build, but in this particular video, I'm just going to focus on entryways or gateways, whatever you want to call them. So let's go ahead and get started with this first set of arches. As you can see, I have 4 different sizes of this shape, which kind of looks like an egg-like shape, with curved edges and a rounded point at the top. I decided to design this to look like some kind of ancient ruins, so I stuck with a basic stone palette. Starting with the small one, I kept it really simple, really basic, and as the sizes increase, I added extra details, trying to improve it. The largest one ended up looking like all of the others. The only main difference was I had a mixture of blocks as well as lots of detail with the stairs and extra pillars on the front to give it some dimension. I think with this design it would be perfect as the entrance to some kind of ruins or ancient temple. This second set of arches is a more traditional looking arch that is a semicircle. If it isn't obvious, this set of arches was heavily inspired by gardens. The smallest one starts out very basic with some bold colors and outlines. As the sizes increase, I started adding things like a castle-like top, vines hanging off the edge, and even a flower bed on top. Once we get to the final one, that flower bed now includes trees, and I even added a little bit of extra detail to the corners on the walls on this one, just because I had some extra space. Obviously, with the larger sizes, you will be able to fit in more details, but the smaller ones are nice too for smaller areas. This next set of arches is something that I like to call a flat arch. While it still has a slight curve to it, it is very flattened on top and very wide. For the design on these ones, I decided to go with something elegant and pristine. With that in mind, the obvious block of choice was quartz. And I must confess, because it is quartz, you really can't use quartz and not have pillars. As the sizes increase, I decided to add in some waterfalls to make them look even more elegant and also add some color. The large size ended up being extremely wide, so I had enough room for 4 waterfalls and a decorative pillar in the center. Not only is it a decorative pillar, but it also does look like it is supporting this arch much better. Also, something you can do for any of these arches really is if you want to raise the sides of them like I did here, and then just use that shape on top, for if you wanted a taller arch, or if you wanted to use these arches for bridge designs. These next arches are very triangular and pointed. So what better design than something that's very geometric? With this design, I was actually experimenting with the depth of the walls. I've done a lot of having details poking out of the walls, so this time I wanted the details to be pressed into the wall. So for the first couple, I have holes punched into them with pops of color behind them, whereas the larger 2 are just holes punched in that just go all the way through with nothing inside them. I really don't know what you would use this design for actually, but of course you don't have to use my designs. These are just here to give you ideas. At first look at these last set of arches, you really can't see the underlying shape I have, which is almost like a spire-like arch. But with my design for these, I actually kind of covered up that spire-like shape with some straight edges. This most closely resembles an Oriental style of building, although I am not very good at Oriental style building, so this was the best I could come up with for this design. And while it might not have been the best option to do it with the spire-like arch underneath, I really do like it here because it does kind of resemble the shapes on the roofs in a way. As the sizes increased with these, I was able to add more details like hanging lights, and on the final one, add some extra fences on the sides for detail. There is more that you can do with these than just what I've shown you. Don't forget that you can also work with diagonals and get a whole nother set of arches. Now, while I didn't design anything for these ones in particular, they can add so much more interest to your build. So don't be afraid to explore other angles. They're done the exact same way as any arch, just think in a different direction. Well, that's all I have for this quick video. I know it wasn't really much of a tutorial, but I did want to kind of give you some just design inspiration, if you will, for arch designs, and maybe help you with some basic shapes if you ever had a need for them. If you would like to download those images so you can have them at your disposal anytime if you wanted to get a shape reference, check out the description below and I will have a link to download those. But that's all for this video, so have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later!